you give me a hand with some of this stuff?
You got the Pentax KO1. It's like the lightest kit. Oh yeah, 4-bar. You got the lightest kit. You'll be fine.
You know what? There's no dynamic range in that camera, so I need a giant light in order to fill that. In order for a giant light, I need a giant C-stand for it. I have to drag an audio bag because I can't even plug a microphone into it. It sounds like garbage like the last episode, so I'm not putting up with that again.
But I'm on level 2.
Can you help?
Just crack open a window. There's plenty of light. You got bright house, south facing. It'll be great. Oh, level 3! Welcome back, DPV TV viewers. It's Chris Nichols here. We've got an interesting video for you today, but before we get to that, we are coming to you in 1080 goodness. Yes, Jordan is still shooting on the Pentax KO1. He'll give you a little rolling shutter test so you can see. There you go. Now, we do have an interesting video today because, you know, we were thinking of doing a sort of shootout. What's the best camera kit under $1,000 USD? But at the same time, so many people are always asking us, Chris, Jordan, what would you buy for photo? What would you buy for video if you had this budget? And so we figured, why not just do both at the same time? We are going to go with what we would buy ourselves for that budget, $1,000 USD, that's 1,300 Canadian, and determine what I would buy for photo and what Jordan would buy for video. We are going to shop at thecamerastore.com online, not because we're being paid or anything like that, but they help us out a lot. We obviously have history with the Camera Store, and if we're in Calgary, that's where we're gonna buy stuff. So let's get to it. Right off the bat, let's talk about SLRs. I love SLRs. You know, the Rebel T8i with a kit lens is kind of in that good price point. It would certainly be good for photography, but I just really do feel like I'm always advocating for mirrorless cameras. I'm gonna go with a mirrorless camera. I like having EVFs. I like having interesting hybrid autofocusing systems, and so that's the way I'm gonna go. So the first kit that catches my eye is the Sony a6100 with the 1650 kit lens. $10.99, it's well within budget. You know, I love the real-time tracking autofocus. I mean, right there, I think that's almost worth it to just get that camera system because it is that easy and enjoyable to use. But you still have a kind of convoluted menu system. The EVF on this camera is pretty rough, and the 1650 kit lens is probably the worst kit lens you can get from any of the manufacturers. So I feel like although it's a very capable kit, and I'm certainly not saying not to buy it, I do think that there's gonna be something that's gonna let me enjoy photography a little bit more, so I'm gonna keep shopping. Now for $1,200 Canadian, I could get a Panasonic GX9 with actually a really nice 12-60 kit lens. And I do love Micro Four Thirds. I mean, I still use Panasonic and Olympus a lot myself. But at the same time, I do feel like in this price point, I think APS-C is just gonna give you a little bit more bang for buck. I like what a lot of the APS-C sensors are doing right now, so I'm just gonna see what else is available. Ah, now see, here's the Sony a6400 body, but if I get that with the 1650 kit lens, it's just like $50 over budget. Jordan, can I have $50 Canadian? No. I could find that in a couch anywhere in... Okay. It's a good camera because at least you get the real-time tracking autofocus with a better EVF. Oh, and this is heartbreaking. I've got a Panasonic G9 body. I just said I was going to go with APS-C, but for $12.99, that is such good value for the dollar. It's a fast-shooting camera. It's rugged. It does great video. I would easily go that way, but no lens on there. I'd have to, like, I don't know, tape a credit card and stick a pinhole through it or something and do art photography, but that's tempting, especially if you just get like a 1442 kit lens used. All right, I'll move on. Oh, now this is an interesting contender. We've got the Nikon Z50 with the 1650 kit lens. It's just under budget. I love the way that camera handles and feels. I like the 20 megapixel files out of it. You know, it's rugged, it's well designed, it's enjoyable to use. And as great as their full frame cameras are doing, my only concern with their APS-C line is, does it have legs? Is it gonna be around? Because there just doesn't seem to be much support going there. But I think I've come to my decision here, so I think it's time to add to cart.
Okay, so my turn to take a look at what I can put together. And obviously I'm gonna have a little more weight put on the video side of things, but I've been known to take pictures, so that's gonna factor into my decisions as well. Now the first one that jumps out to me is actually a Canon M50 kit, which is well under budget, and they have a lot of nice compact lenses. I like the handling on that, and the video autofocus is very good, but only in 1080p. If you switch this over to 4K, heavy crop, you lose dual pixel autofocus, so I'm gonna keep looking here. This price is so close to kind of that next category up. Like I would love to get a Fujifilm X-S10. That's a wonderful photo video hybrid camera, but the kit lenses are more expensive. That puts me out of budget. Panasonic G95, really a nice kind of GH4 with IBIS sort of idea, but again, the kit lens kind of puts that over budget. So I'm gonna look a little more out of the box, I think. Okay, I've come up with a strategy here. I'm gonna take a look at some of the less expensive bodies, so I still have a little bit of room in my budget for a second lens, because that'll make up a huge difference in terms of image quality. Trouble is, with a lot of these smaller sensor mirrorless cameras, a lot of those prime lenses are actually quite expensive. They don't have a lot of the budget like nifty 50s that we used to saw in a DSLR, but one system does, and that's where I'm gonna go. Add to cart. All right, let's meet up with Chris and see what he came up with.
So Jordan, it's time for the big reveal. I don't know what you've chosen, you don't know what I've chosen, but I went with the Fujifilm X-T30 with the 15-45 kit lens. Okay, so here's the thing, we can't get full frame at this price point with the lens brand new. It just doesn't happen. So if I'm gonna go APS-C, which I'm fine with, I want the best APS-C sensor that I can get, and we both do really like this 26 megapixel APS-C sensor, the fast readout, nice image quality. Video's no slouch on this camera either, and I do really like the controls. I mean, I like having the exposure comp dial, the manual shutter dial, nice customizable controls on the X-T30. The 15-45 kit lens, it's what I'm stuck with, but I do want to start with a zoom, so I have that flexibility. Later on, I can increase my repertoire of lenses, and of course, I do have a really good system here of accessories with the Fujifilm line.
Should have known you'd go with the bigger sensor because I went a little bit smaller. I went actually with a less expensive model, the EM10-4, but that gave me enough money to also grab the Panasonic 25mm 1.7 and still fall under budget. So yes, I am going to a smaller sensor with this Micro Four Thirds camera, but if you look at the features that you find in a camera around $1,000, one thing you'll always find is missing is in-body image stabilization, with the exception of Olympus at this price. Now what that means is, no, I'm not soaking up as much light with this sensor, but I can hand hold and shoot slower shutter speeds as long as it's a more static scene. That's really gonna make up a lot of the difference. But for those darker situations or when I'm shooting action, that's where this 25mm 1.7 is really going to come into use. It's going to give me much shallower depth of field and better low light than any of the kit lens options that you're going to see. So if you're budgeting, I think it's really worth looking at this. The other thing, we don't really think about Olympus for a lot of high-end video work, but this is actually a fairly capable little video camera. You get full width 4K with it, and if you want to do some selfie stuff, look at that. I can still film myself with that. But I was really prioritizing looking at that $1,000 US camera packages, what's going to be the most versatile option, and I think I found it with this combo.
Thanks for joining us on this little twist on which camera we would go for personally if we had a budget of $1,000 USD. But we'd also love to hear your guys' opinions. So if you had the same budget, what would you go for and why? We would love to hear that. Go to deepreview.com and we've got full reviews on the Fujifilm X-T30. And very shortly, there will also be one for the EM10 Mark IV from Olympus coming out soon. Thanks so much from Jordan and I for joining us, and we will see you guys very soon.